Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. We are going to be talking today about what type of computer can you get to install Linux on. Particularly, we're going to look at laptops today, and we are joined by our panel as usual. We have Shadow Strike. How's it going there? All right, very cool. Anything cool going on your way? Ooh, nice. It's LMDE5. It's going to have a new release in about 3 years, so you got plenty of time. All right, Salbu, how's it going your way? All right. Still recovering. What was? Yeah. Was it the coof? No idea, and I'm not testing. Oh, I forgot to turn your guys' audio on. I'm sorry, guys. Thank you, Jeffrey, Fluffy. How's it going there, guys? Thanks, guys. I forgot to turn on the guest audio. So, okay, let me recap. Selbu's okay. You're recovering from being sick. Shadow Strike, he's doing all right. Somebody running LMDE4, 5 down the road. All right. Whew, good. Thanks for reminding me that like super early. We don't want to be 10 minutes in, but like, no audio.
And that's our show. Bye.
Boy, yeah. There you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. Yeah. All right, Dan, how's it going your way?
It's going really good.
All right. How's the weather up your way? I haven't seen that mystical glowing orb in the sky for I don't know how long. So hopefully I don't run out of power today.
I think Tuesday's the only day it came out for me, and I went over and helped my cousin fix his tractor. Well, it was a nice warm sunny day, and then poof, it rained again yesterday. Yep. It stopped today long enough for me to go forage for food.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think I need to do that tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm using up the last of my eggs, almost the last of my bacon, and I'm trying to think. I have the last of my fruit. But I'm pretty much out of food tomorrow. There we go. Mark, how's it going your way? And you were muted, by the way. I muted you. There was a lot of background noise at your house.
that was me dealing with the animals and changing clothes. Okay.
Well, I appreciate you walking away from the camera to change his clothes.
Yeah.
It's really
just a
reminds me. Do I have the ability to? I can mute your microphone. I can't turn off your camera, but I can kick you out.
The only thing missing from the pre-show performance was some soft music in the background.
Oh Lord!
You can hear me clear now, right? Yeah. I've just been tying up loose ends today.
All right, there you go. We have a little bit of chatter going back and forth. There's some ZenBook talk, some ThinkPad talk. Let's see. Somebody's got an old Mac, mid-2012 Macs. Yeah, back in the old days, you could actually repair Macs. You could pop out the hard drives. You could pop out the RAM. You could do all sorts of fun stuff to Macs a while back. Anymore? No, everything's soldered together, and then they put glue in, and then they screw things in, and then they put more glue in there, and then they duct tape the bottom together. They're like, you cannot get in the bottom of our Mac. Oh, Lord. So he's like, I had one of those big all-in-one Macs. He's like, what can we do to fix it? I said, just throw it away. It's not worth it.
You know, the crazy thing is, iPhones, at least a couple years back, their batteries are as easy or easier to replace than a lot of Android models.
Yeah, a long time ago they were.
Somewhat, at least.
Faisal says that the Acer laptop in my thumbnail gave him PTSD. My deepest, sincerest apologies for giving you flashbacks of war with a computer. That was just happened to be the only non-Apple computer I was able to find in public domain stock footage. So, sorry. Best way to learn Russian. I'd say something, but I'd like to check the video stands online. Of course, my videos have been under assault lately. YouTube does not like Kodi videos, so they have been completely burying the Kodi videos. So unless there's anything majorly pressing, I think we're done with Kodi videos for now. We have 4. We talked about installing it, add-ons, Kodi remotes, how to add network and other shares to it. If there's anything else you really need to know, maybe I'll think about doing it. But I'm sick of spending the time for YouTube to bury the video because it doesn't like Kodi. But if you missed it, they are all on a single playlist. You can watch all 4 videos on a playlist and get the whole spectrum from installing Kodi all the way down to add-ons and Kodi remotes and things like that. So
yeah, I have. If you're interested, you commented in one of the first Kodi videos about when, or maybe it was anyway about there were some movies that the scraper wouldn't recognize,
mhm.
and I know why, because I have the same movie. It is not a movie. It is a mini series. It's a made for but
Yeah,
so
if it's made-
it needs to be in the TV series folder, and then it
Yes.
will
Yeah, and then it shows up as TV shows, which drives me crazy. So, so I have a separate folder for all the made-for-TV stuff, and so when I want to watch a made-for-TV, I just go right to that folder directly.
But there is another trick that I used to use. I'm not sure if it's still valid. If you create an NFO file in the folder where the movie is, and you have the NFO, the same name as the movie, except for the last file name being NFO, and you have the IMDb URL for that file as the only content in it, it should pick that up and use that for.
Yeah,
then it will show up in your.
I've not seen that one before. I know one of the things you can do with it is you can manually edit the library file. It's an XML file, so you can manually edit that as well. That's the other option. But yeah, I don't bother worrying about that. I'm wondering if the Universal Movie Scraper might show it differently. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, everyone's yelling at me. Yeah, and I messed up again. I haven't done that in a good 6 months. Been raining in Pennsylvania. Yes, Fluffy Cloud. I'm in Pennsylvania, and it is raining. Can confirm.
Michigan's not much better.
PC Linux OS banned my IP address for pissing techs off. What did you do? You should just run PC Linux OS. Just like do the best, most comprehensive tutorial series on the thing just to spite them. Acer Aspire 5 A515 because it was the only laptop at the time without soldered RAM. I've never seen a laptop with soldered RAM except for I think my Lenovo might, because that's like a super low end spec computer. But all right, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our subject today. We're talking about what type of computer should you get if you plan on installing Linux. Of course, you can buy one of the computers with Linux pre-installed. They're very expensive. They are good computers, but unfortunately, there's no low-end model that's fairly affordable to somebody who simply wants a cheap beater computer. And so this leads us to go to the local big box stores and buy computers. Which ones do you get and why? Solbu, do you want to jump us out because I'm on you first or not?
Yeah, I make a point when I'm buying a computer that it needs to be the most important thing for me is the video card. It needs to be either Intel integrated, or it needs to be an AMD card. I am actively resisting anything NVIDIA. I'm not buying it because they don't have they don't create a free software drivers, and the free driver software driver that the community creates is always lagging a little behind, and there is always some feature that they can't figure out how to activate, because NVIDIA is refusing to document how the card is working. Whereas AMD, they are actually releasing free software drivers, which is in the some of it is already in the kernel. And some of it is in a separate package that almost every distribution, including Debian, is shipping. And the only thing needed that is still proprietary as AMD is concerned is a firmware file that you need, that is uploaded into the hardware card. And But if you are someone like Stallman, say, then integrated Intel is the only way to go. At least still. And personally, I don't care about the wireless drivers because I don't use wireless. And that's a choice that I made many years ago.
Yeah, I minimize the use of wireless. I don't completely ban it, but I do minimize it. All my van here, I might have the only van in the van life world that actually has a an 8-port gigabit Ethernet system in it, and, including Ethernet ports on my wall I can plug into. In fact, I toyed with putting in another one over here behind me as well, because occasionally I'll use this table behind me also for computer work. So if this desk is busy with computers doing things, I might turn around and use this one. It'd be cool, and I actually have the space and the opportunity to run another port. So I don't know, I might very well do that. Just plug in another Ethernet port.
And one other thing that is of importance, especially when buying a laptop, you need to be able to replace the battery down the road. And I think that in Apple laptops, you can't do that. You have to replace the whole machine or have it permanently connected to power, which is a pain if you're out and about.
Yeah, I like the old school laptops. So you just have that, put the plug and pull them out. Those were the best. They need to make those in the modern lithium-ion
battery in an Apple computer now. I was just confirming with Sobu. He said you don't want to get an Apple if you want to replace the battery. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
they won't even let you replace the battery now.
Yeah, it's possible to. They just don't make the parts readily available to do so, and that's like if you can find one, if you can find an aftermarket one, then you can replace the battery. But
it's compatible. But it's they do. They I know with Louis Crossman, he's covered it a lot. I'll just make it simple. I would not do Apple for a Linux computer. I mean, it's kind of like, I see.
Battery and hard drive right out the back.
Yeah.
You take out the battery. There's actually a little handle so you can lift the hard drive up and pull it out. If you take this plastic off, there's 2 screws that take this off. There's an M.2 slot. There's 2 additional RAM slots for a total of 4.
I might do a Dell at some point.
Yeah.
There was a zinger.
Modular in my experience.
I did have a lot of trouble at first figuring out how to get EFI to work on this thing because it works kind of backwards.
Yeah, EFI is a little crazy at times. So.
Well, inside the BIOS, it wants to look for a certain file. It's the boot x86.efi file.
Mm-hmm.
I would say getting. I'm sorry,
it actually has in the BIOS where you take the mouse pointer and go over and click on a button, and it'll give you like a tree menu so you can go find it if it's another spot other than it's supposed to be. Once it's found it, it's ready to rip.
Yeah, that's what I like about some of my Dells have those. Mark, give us your thoughts on buying a laptop to install Linux. What are the things you look for?
So I would avoid Apple. I would avoid Apple computers for Linux personally. Mm-hmm. It's like fitting a square peg into a round hole. Really, it just doesn't go. I mean, you can run Linux on the Apple computer, but why would you?
I don't know. As I've at times needed to boot up a live key on my MacBook Air, and it actually worked really well. I'm not sure.
They seem to be getting better. I've heard a lot.
Yeah,
more people doing
the new Macs with the new chips. There's very few Linux distros that support them quite yet. There's just like the 1 or 2. But for the most part, if you had the older ones, they're good. I wouldn't buy a Mac to run Linux on it. But if you had
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, if you had one laying around or you found a good deal, it would work.
If you found one in a good dumpster dive.
Yeah, I had somebody give one to me. And it works, but I kept it as a Mac.
I feel like doing a refurb Lenovo ThinkPad off eBay or Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, good.
A Lenovo ThinkPad from eBay, or even honestly, Dell's tend to run Linux pretty good. I know Tom has had real good experience with his Dell computers that he's tried, and also HP computers run them pretty well.
No,
It's
not
if
all
I
of
was
them
to
are.
get like a PC, it's hard to look past Lenovo.
Not all the
Still,
HP computers are Linux friendly. My
not all of them, but certain
I got a
models
family
are. I know
member
a
that's
lot of
got
the
one of
older ones are.
those Omen models for gaming. You cannot put
Yeah,
Linux on it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks for something that Windows only has when it boots up, and that's all it'll go for.
Wow.
I know with like the Pavilion series, which is kind of an older series. I don't even know if they still make Pavilion in like the Pro series and stuff. It tends to work well. I've got as evidence of that, I've got a system here in my office that I use. It's older, and it ran Linux before I ever swapped out the board, and so it ran it for years. And then the other computers in the HP Pro series, like Windows 8.1 older desktop, they're both desktops. It runs Linux fine. It's got elementary OS on it. I don't love it, but there's some things I really like about it. I've stayed with it so far. So far, it's been a pretty good experience. They do some things to dumb it down, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm not sure.
It's hard to
Strike,
beat
are you still
Lenovo.
there or not? I see he's.
Oh yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Give us your thoughts when you're wanting to do get a laptop for running Linux. What are your thoughts? What are you looking for?
Well, let's see. Well, if I want to buy new, then I'd be I gotta make sure I have the budget for it, because what I've seen out there for new, it can get expensive, like 500 up. I've seen, but if I want something where I want to actually have my hands digging in, I try to find like something used or something, something that's pre-built. Let's say available like out on eBay, where they're fairly reasonable. And of course, I'd be like, oh, okay, that one runs this, so I want to get that, and then I want to rebuild it just in case, and just kind of see what's out there, and then especially if it's something that actually has, if it's something that actually has something already built onto it, something that I can use as a template to kind of build off of.
Yeah, there you go. So for me, I look at, I'm going to look at first what's my use case application, and that's going to help me decide what type of thing do I want to go with. And so when I bought this, I have a Lenovo S21E here. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of the same laptops run with the Dolphin uses from MX Linux.
Cool.
And this one is actually installed MX Linux. I use this to write my books on. And this cost me $100 and very easy to install Linux on. For a while, it was dual booted, actually. But I wiped that out, just run MX Linux raw on it. And it works pretty much flawlessly. That was just $100 and it was on a sale somewhere. The next one is I wanted a computer that if my main computer is down for some reason, I can still do video production on. So I found this Dell Inspiron 3505. See, Linus Tech Tips would say it's a bad one because they can't open it with one hand. I don't know what it is with, you can open it with one hand.
Linus Tech Tips.
Why do I care? This one actually has a Ryzen 5 and AMD integrated graphics. Really good. Bought it at a pawn shop for $170. Now, the charging port was a little bit bad. And the reason I go with Dells when I can find them, they are the easiest to repair computers. So the charging port looks like this. It cost me $7 on Amazon. There were about a dozen companies selling them. It came in 3 days and took me 10 minutes to replace. While I was in there, I installed a secondary hard drive. So now this thing boots 2 separate operating systems on 2 separate hard drives. And it's maxed out in RAM at 16 gig. So Dell is good because you can literally buy and replace everything. They make the parts available, they make the schematics available, and there's training videos from like Dell parts people or something. And so repairability is huge for me because I want to get something that I can keep going around so long. My one computer, which is literally still running Windows 7, not used for anything other than just accounting at this point in time. I have rebuilt almost every component of that computer. I've put in new screens, new bezels, new keyboards, new processor fans. I've never replaced the processor, never replaced the board, never replaced the hard drive. I can't remember if I replaced the wireless card, but my other Dell computer, this is actually my web design work computer when I'm at coffee shops, this guy did have a wireless card break. Again, $10 part, swapped it out, and took a few minutes. Very easy to repair Dells. So Dells, they're generally cheap, they're very easy to repair, and they run Linux great. Never had a problem with them. Now, that leads me to the next principle. I'm never generally going to buy a computer new, particularly if it has Windows on it, because I do not want to contribute to another purchased Windows license. So I go to Best Buy if I'm looking for a new computer. Go to Best Buy, look at the open box section, and usually you can get them to knock an extra 5 or 10% off. They're already knocked down about 10%. You go in there and you hem and haw, I don't know, what'd you take? And give them like a number 10% down. They'll take it. They want to sell those things. And so I've gotten them to knock off 10% more off of their computers. I don't know how many times. And so that's what I'm going to look for, is something I can repair, something that is cheap. And that's really my biggest tips for buying a laptop to install Linux.
I concur.
Other thoughts?
I concur.
Well,
I mean, Linux will run on most any hardware out there. There's not a whole lot that it won't run well on.
Here's my thoughts. I won't buy a new computer, especially a brand new Intel one, because they now have them new processors out with the E cores and the P cores. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing yet out for Linux that says that they can handle this with any kernels that they have now. Even Windows is having trouble sorting this out, and the games aren't even playing right because they think the performance cores are performance cores, and they're using the E cores as performance cores as well, and the games crash. Mm-hmm. Like I did the computer I just showed you. This is a used computer. It's kind of new to me because it's very, it's got lots of bells and whistles. I paid $600 for it, but I got it from a reputable used computer service.
Good.
Good. It has plenty of horsepower. It has 1080p display, which is really until you have to jack all the text up so you can see it.
I noticed that display. It looked pretty good.
But I got it from PC Liquidations, and the description for it was a little off. It was actually rated as a grade A, meaning it's in really good condition. They got A, B, and C for grades of condition for the computers. Mm-hmm. They didn't say it had Bluetooth, but the description said that it had a camera. Well, I got it, and there's no webcam in it. But
that's a plus.
Well,
yeah, that's not a bad thing, really, because you can
as Tech told us, is these business computers, a lot of them, they won't let in buildings if they have cameras on them.
Yeah. This is true. This is true.
But on the flip side, I got Bluetooth, and it works with my Bluetooth headphones just great. And the Linux, it was the first time I got Linux and Bluetooth and this thing all to jive together.
Nice.
So that was an experience.
I'm going to pause there for a second. Salbu, are you still there? Yeah, you talked to Tech today, right? And he had a few tips, but he couldn't make it tonight. What were his tips?
He said that for any bleeding edge system, there's always the AMD versus Intel SoC question, and because they are very well supported, because both Intel and AMD create free software driver. Intel even creates their own Linux distribution, Clear Linux OS.
Yep.
So they have a vested interest in having it work. So the GPU is important, and as well as wireless chipsets. There are some that still require a proprietary drive in order to function. I don't think there are many these days, but they still exist.
Let's talk about that for a brief moment, because a laptop, like, I don't know, I can't speak for every laptop brand, but a Dell, if you happen to have a Dell with like a Realtek or a Broadcom modem for some reason that the drivers don't work right, you can pull that out and just pop in a new one. They are literally like $10, $20.
Yeah, I got 2 or 3 of them in the boxes, in a box back here. That I have a niece that likes to smash laptops, so my aunt would get her a new one.
That's an odd hobby.
Well, she's she's got mental issues, which inflicts, anger now and then.
Yeah.
But I told her if she's going to smash laptops, save them. Maybe I can fix them, or maybe I can use the parts in them.
Yeah.
So I got a few extra wireless adapters and stuff like that out of that, and some extra RAM and a few hard drives, but nevertheless, it's that easy. If you can get them open, you can change your wireless card, especially if you think there's something wrong with it.
I do think I might need to change the wireless card. I noticed when I put in that new charging port, the wireless card, it was a little weird to get off, and it didn't want to get back on super well. But the thing actually has a covering over the wireless card, so it actually holds the thing in place. So it doesn't properly connect, but it seems to be fine. And being is that this computer has an Ethernet port, and I don't often use wireless, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal.
Normally they slip in like an M.2 drive would, and it's got one screw that holds them down.
Yeah.
You just snap your little tiny antenna wires on them.
Yeah. There's they have specific antenna wires. So, but there's something about the black line on that wire does not want to connect. So very interesting. Somebody mentioned in the chat here, Pinebook. There's the Pinebook Pro. Tech has one. He's not able to join us today, but he actually used it. And there's some good things about them. There's some bad things about them. They're really cheap. They're a little bit more limited and things like that. But you can actually you can actually look at things like the Pinebook Pro as one option if you need something that's super light. Like if I need to replace my writing computer, I'd look at a Pinebook Pro before I look at another brand right now, just because of how committed they are to open source.
If you're looking specifically for phones, I
we
feel
don't
like
want to talk phones today. We don't want to talk phones today.
Right, right.
It's just Pine.
Mention Brax. I feel like
Pine has a laptop as well.
Right.
It's an ARM computer. It's called the Pinebook Pro. And so you can always look into that. Of course, let's talk about the other Linux ones. There's System 76, which is Pop OS. There's a few other ones. What are some of the other Linux distributors? Any other Linux distributors out there?
The System 76 has wonderful support, and you get what you pay for, because if you're somebody that needs assistance here and there getting things set up.
There's another one that's from overseas, but I can't think of the name of it.
They're Purism, but I wouldn't recommend Purism.
No, this is a different
way
name.
They do business. They've not delivered on a lot of things.
But
as far as phones go,
Sequencer's talking about useless buying a laptop with no touchscreen in 2022, even if Linux gestures are not there yet. There are some distributions, like GNOME is really moving along with the gestures, and I thought Plasma might be as well. I actually think that a touchscreen on a laptop is the most useless garbage ever, so I actually run scripts on startup to shut off on my touchscreens. It's like, there's no point running a touchscreen on a laptop. Now, if it flips over, it's like one of the Yogas that flips over. I can get that. I can understand that completely.
I always turn off the touchpad
for spreadsheets and stuff.
I don't want to watch a movie on a screen that's covered in fingerprints.
That's the thing. It's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why is there a touch screen? There's a keyboard and a mouse right in front of me, closer to me and the computer screen. Why would I want the touch screen? It just doesn't make sense. But I guess, trendy things.
Maybe for video editing, like on at a desk. Maybe to like physically touch and move a segment
that
video
just seems
of the
clunky to me.
timeline.
I don't know.
Of the
That just
time-
seems clunky to me. Now, there's applications for it, of
Right.
course. The
People
one
are-
micro screen I have for the Raspberry Pi, that is actually touch screen, and Raspberry Pi
Sweet.
supports it quite well. It's pretty nice, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
It supports it over
So you could-
HDMI too, which is fascinating.
Speaking
There's
of
some
Pine Books, there is a YouTube channel, Category 5.tv. A few years back, he got a Pine Book in the studio, and he demonstrated that he bought a Pine Book without the hardware in it. Because he had a Raspberry that he was already using for something, and you can just pop it into the Pine Book and have it running. And so the Pine Books are good in that you can either use it as a standalone system, powering your TV and whatnot, or you can take that and put it inside a laptop, and it behave just the same as on the TV. And the only difference is that now you have an actual keyboard and a mouse pad connected to it that you can use. So that's one feature about the Pine Book.
Nice, yeah. Commodore Fan 64 says, stay away from the new Walmart exclusive Gateway laptops. Yeah, Gateway laptops are back and they're exclusives at Walmart. So stay away from them. I guess I think he said somewhere else in there that like everything is soldered into them, which is kind of annoying, but...
I would just not buy a computer at Walmart if you can help it. Like, wait a few days, get it from some... You can even do main gear.
There's some,
Linux on
like, if the on little micro... It's the only place I know that sells, like, Windows-based micro-scale computers, though, that aren't $5,000, you know. I don't know. Maybe I can find one on Amazon or something.
The problem is the Walmart way.
Yeah. They're
means
probably
they cut
garbage,
corners.
but at the price point of $100, that doesn't sound like too bad for hardware to try out or have some weird disposable thing. I mean, if you want to program
burner
some crazy
laptop.
card reader to walk down the street, never mind.
They're selling burner laptops.
That's
I
about
care
it. Yeah.
too much about my electronics to do that. I want quality. When I'm going anything computer wise, I want quality.
But the
will
purpose
pay.
of a burner phone is
extra
cheap and
dollars.
disposable, man. Cheap and disposable. This is a burner laptop. You're gonna set it up like what was the kid's name? At the CC license.
Like
Pull a
Walter
laptop,
White.
scrape stuff, and broadcast it out. Don't do that. Don't do that. That'd be bad. That'd be bad.
One thing that is that used to be an issue on the computers, say 15, 20 years ago, was sound cards. That was some sound cards simply wouldn't work on Linux. That is a thing of the past, because I think they standardized on some chipset that everyone is having integrated anyway. So almost every software, every computer, be it a desktop or a laptop, usually have the same sound card. Because if you go into the BIOS and where you can enable and disable the sound card, every BIOS has the same name for the sound card. So that's a thing of the past.
Razzle Review is selling a Ryzen 5 3400. So if anybody interested, get a hold of Razzle Review.
Oh wow, 3,400. How much?
Razzle Review, get a hold of Mark. Star Labs, that's an and Slimbook, those are overseas Linux places.
Star Labs.
Fingerprints and cat nose prints. That's right. There's a cat. Every time I touch it, it does something weird.
I've been trying to get a hold of a 3300X Ryzen forever. They're a unicorn. They discontinued them.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
but
hit
they're
touchscreen of a
outstanding.
child's
processors,
laptop. They
keep
cover it
money
with
in there.
stickiness and get confused because nothing happens. Put a big old note on there. This is not a touchscreen. Touchscreen is retarded with anything on a keyboard with it. Yeah, you agree.
There is one. I have a friend who 6 or 7 years ago he bought a laptop and brought it home and tested it on a live system, and he installed it as a dual boot system in order to test it and so on. And he made it work, and it was fine. So he opted to have install Linux on it and not have and have a plain Linux install on it, and then it wouldn't boot. It turned out that I don't remember the brand, but the laptop. Someone's having a beeping.
Yeah. Beep beep.
Yeah, it's my nuke. My son's making something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese.
I always pause when I hear that sound in a computer because my UPS makes the same sound. So I was, what?
All right, Mark Raz's review says $325 for the box. Might throw an aftermarket cooler.
So, but he has. So he went back. But so
okay.
So,
all right.
So my friend, it turned out that the BIOS was locked to only supporting Windows, and this was not documented on any of the accompanying documentation or sales. So he went back to the shop in order to complain about it, and they said that sure, we can open the BIOS for you for $700 extra dollars in order to open it. So he went outside the shop, and then he called me in order to what to do, because in Norway we have a really strong consumer protection. The two big TV channels in Norway both have consumer protection, consumer-oriented programs in order so that. Consumer having this experience, so we are helping them, and they're talking about various issues. So I said that the law says that this is this lock is a fault of the manufacturer or the seller, and that they didn't reveal to him prior to him buying the thing. So they could either, so he could ask for his money back. And so we had a 10-minute conversation where I talked about his options. And then he went back in and called me half an hour later and said that he was threatening calling this. We had one of the TV programs is the initials of the program is FBI. Yeah.
I'm going to listen to the FBI, man. Yeah. I don't want them. I don't want 5 of them all joining together.
It loosely translates into the consumer inspectors. So he threatened to tip them and those 2 TV stations about this, and then the manager came and he heard this, and he said that they would give him two identical laptops that were opened in the BIOS in exchange for him promising not to talk to those 2 TV channels, and he agreed. So he bought 1 laptop and he got 2 for the so
there you go.
Some laptops can be locked to Windows, and you need to ask about this when you're buying it. And if they say that
generally, I have not seen that problem. Although I have encountered one computer in the past that I was not able to install Linux on.
You know what? You have to look out for those things if you're buying used laptops. You go into the BIOS and make sure there isn't any administrator, supervisor, or any other locks enabled with a password somewhere in the BIOS for just about anything.
Yeah.
I did buy about 5 years ago a used Dell business laptop, and it had 2 or 3 administrator passwords that locked the system. So you couldn't even put another hard drive in it because it wouldn't boot.
Yeah.
So which made it kind of a piece of junk if you
I
wanted to
think
switch
you have
parts.
to have.
Yeah, just make sure if you're buying a used computer, particularly, you have all the passwords. It's not just
I think you
resetting
need to
Windows; it's
consider
resetting
specs.
the BIOS as well, so that
What
everything
you're
is
doing.
clear. So let's see, a couple things to say about that.
Your Razzler review,
there
unfortunately,
were
you've got a
some
CPU
computers
that's
that were
never gonna
coming
be able
out
to
not
do that.
too long ago that were Linux that
That's sad.
would block anything but Windows. There were a few of those. I'm not sure if those still exist or if it was just a limitation of the Linux kernel at that time. I'm not sure. The one that I found that I could not install, it was actually an Atom processor. It was like a small Asus with an Atom processor. So that one there, yeah, whatever. I just took it back and bought something else instead.
Now at this
But,
Yeah, I was naughty, and I got my hands on one of these. Used to be a Chromebook, and I destroyed the Chrome OS. I just wiped it completely off. And yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I gave a little bit of a paint job, and I threw a little decal on it. I'm a Battlestar Galactica fan, so that's why that's like that. And
Oh yeah, me too.
yeah, and I put on Linux Mint XFC on this thing, and so this is my portable that I bring around with me for if email, whatever, do some general web browsing, and the rest of the time it sits right up there, and it's my webcam viewer.
nice. Cool.
Yep. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I don't know. That's about all I have. A couple comments in here. So yeah, it's how do you go live with Jitsi? The newer versions of Jitsi, you actually can. Actually, this one here, I can do. The newer versions, I don't have the newest version of Jitsi installed here, but you can actually go live. We're actually using OBS to go live with it. So you can go live with anything on OBS. Come on, man. OBS is just
and using OBS, then you have full control of what actually goes
and that's why I use it that way. Like, I'm not a fan of like the StreamYards plugs it in and whatever's there goes there. It's like, I'm not a fan of that. I want to have a little bit more control than that. So OBS it is. Any final thoughts? I think we've pretty much ran through the comments as well. So let's do our kind of wrap-up thoughts. And let me check my batteries here. There's a cat on my lap, so I have to wait for the things to cycle through. We're at 13.0 volts, so we should probably jump off here soon. So I have power. Go ahead, Mark. Give us your final thoughts.
I was just going to say really quick. Yeah, I'll just do my final thoughts. I was just going to say really quick in a TLDR, always consider your use case. What are you using the Linux computer for? Is it just fun? Is it like specific to gaming, work related? Consider that when you look at the specifications on the machine you're getting. You want to kind of have an i5 or greater if it's anything too demanding. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for considering Linux. And if you're new here, thanks for coming to the channel. Welcome to the Linux community.
Absolutely. Dan, final thoughts? Your end?
Yeah, with the computer, I just showed you that I bought one thing that was kind of tasty about it when I was looking at it, is it's loaded with ports. It has HDMI, Thunderbolts, USB-C. It's got 4 USB 3 ports on it. I mean, it's just loaded.
Oh, nice.
In exchange for all this, you do not get a DVD or Blu-ray drive built into it, But if you're going to look at a laptop, it's a personal choice. Weight is another thing too. This thing weighs a hefty 7 pounds. I cannot, hold it up with one hand because my wrists won't support that kind of weight. If you're going to tote it around everywhere, you might want to take weight into consideration.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Shadow Strike, final thoughts.
It's just like you definitely need to know what your use case is going to be when you want to try to find something, and it's like you need to try to kind of make your purchase based on, what your use case is going to be, just general web browsing, email, games, like those mentioned before, and kind of go from there a little bit and also fish around and see what's available, what the hardware is capable of, and kind of use your own judgment on, or even ask for help on what would be applicable for your purpose.
Yeah. Somebody asked about Linux on Lenovo IDEA pads. Generally, they work pretty good. Lenovo generally is pretty Linux friendly. Salbu, final words.
Yeah, I have said this before, but it bears repeating. If, as Tech said in the Discord, because he couldn't be here, having free software drivers is important. So, but he also said that if you don't care about the software being free, the drivers being free, then almost anything will work. Some will have some hardware requires some manual hassling in order to make it work, but and that is also dependent on which distro you're using. But most hardware works these days. But if you are like someone like me, and maybe also like Tech, that you care about drivers also being free, then you need to do some research and going Intel hardware, AMD hardware, and then almost everything will work because they have free drivers.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And avoid Broadcom wireless chipsets, because then you always need a closed source driver, which me and maybe also Tech won't do. So
yeah, Broadcom, Realtek is the other one that you'll often have problems with. So either of those two. So
yeah, he
Broadcom
mentioned that, but he wasn't sure. But he wasn't sure
Yeah.
if it was both of those, or if it was just one of them. But
yeah, I know my Lenovo has Broadcom in it. So that's what you want to avoid. All right, well, on my Christian channel tonight, we are dissecting the alleged "Don't Say Gay" bill. We're going to read the whole thing and talk about it. So if you're interested in Christian topics, you can come on over there, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's about 1 hour from now. Put the link in there. But otherwise, we'll be back with the weekly news roundup tomorrow. And I might actually have a video on Saturday. I should. It's going to boil down to, do I have power? But I'm like, I'm actually in my hometown. I can plug my van in a number of different places. So I'll try and get a video up for Saturday too. Why not, right? Anyway, thanks for hanging out, everybody. And we will see you guys next time.